Welcome to Mrs. Kugel's kindergarten class. After 20 years of teaching kindergarten, I am learning a new program. Our county adopted HMH Into Reading. The first week was a little hard trying to navigate the HMH online tool and all my new hard copy materials. I've learned a few tricks and I'd like to share them with you. So let's get started. First, I access HMH Online through ClassLink. Once there, I click on Discover. From here I have two options. I can go directly to my HMH Resources, or I can create my stuff. I want to show you what the HMH Resources look like. For each week, they have lessons pre-built. So for week 1, I was trying to go into this open lesson, and I was trying to find the materials that were listed in my teacher book. With HMH, many of the materials provided are not in hard copy, so they must be reached online. When I went down, for example, into my foundational skills, and we're looking for my Alphafriends videos and other cute hands-on videos, I wasn't finding them here. And so I was having to navigate all over the HMH resources. From HMH, you can also go over here to All Resources, and all of their different categories are listed. The Alphafriends and other videos that deal with letters can be found under Foundational Skills. Once on Foundational Skills, you use the Component drop-down to find what you are looking for. So here I would find all of my Alphafriends videos. I can open them, assign them, or add them to my lessons. When I tried to add them to my lessons, it told me I had to first create a lesson. So that was a little confusing, and I had to reach out to a coworker for extra help. Another way I can access it is with the search icon, and I can type in alligator, and I haven't named it correctly. Once I found the correct heading, I can find the video I am looking for. This was all a little overwhelming while trying to keep the attention of 22 kindergartners in a classroom where I have no assistance. So I decided I needed a quicker and easier solution. By clicking on My Stuff, you are able to create your own lessons. You simply hit Create and decide what you want to title them. For my purposes, I titled them Lesson 2, Week 1, Day 2. So the lessons for a module are numbered 1 through 16, but I needed a way to keep up with what week am I on, what number, and so this just works really well for me. So this would be the title of the lesson for the second day of kindergarten. I hit Create, and now I'm able to drop things into this lesson. If I made a mistake, for example, I spelled lesson incorrectly, I can click Edit Summary, and I can quickly rename it. Once my lessons are created, I can hit Share, and when I hit this, every teacher in my district's name appears and the school they're at. So I can quickly share them with friends at other schools or the teachers on my grade level. Now I'm ready to start building my lesson. For me, the easiest thing to do was to have my teacher hard copy teacher edition out and have it laying next to my computer. You also, if you don't want to do that, you can go to your teacher's guide and the entire teacher's guide is online, and you can go to whichever page you're needing. I like the module at a glance page. It tells you what you're going to cover. I also like if you go up here you can go directly to the week that you're doing. We just completed the second week, so today I will be building my lessons for week 3. Here's my week at a glance. There's a lot of great information on this page, for example, what letters I will be covering. There's also information that is not here. For example, it tells me that I'm going to be teaching a sight word to know, but it does not tell me what sight word that will be. It does tell me the names of the books and some of the key strategies I'll be working with my students. To get into the full information, I need to go to my actual day lesson. So this is the page that I've got open next to my laptop. Here I see what anchor charts I'm going to need, and if there are any student pages, they will be listed here. I will be turning these pages on the hard copy that is next to me, and I'll be looking at each of these things: the books I need, the anchor charts I need, other display and engage. I'll be looking at student work pages I need. Are these things that are in books like the Know It, Show It that my students already have, or are they things like this writing page that I would need to print out? And so I will be making some decisions as I build my lesson. Now I'm ready to get started. Notice that when I click on something in HMH, for example, the Teacher's Edition, it opens it in a new tab. So I can quickly go back to my previous tabs and keep those tabs open. I really like this option where I'm not having to continually click the back arrow or the forward arrow. It's very easy for me to decide where I need to go. On week 1, what I was doing in the morning, I was opening all the tabs I was going to need, and then I would click on them here at the top. And you can still do that, but it's much more efficient if you go ahead and build your lessons. On Monday, I will be starting week 3, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to start on lesson 11. I'm looking in my teacher's manual, and I see that the first thing I'm going to need to get started is an anchor chart about turn and talk. So I'm going to look here in my drop down where it's building background, and I'm going to see, do they have that turn and talk anchor chart ready for me? And I am not seeing it here. I am, however, seeing an anchor chart that says meaning clues, and I see in my teacher's edition that I am going to need that on the second page of the lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up just to double check that that is the anchor chart that I'm seeing in my teacher's edition. It is. So I can go back to my All Resources. I click on these 3 dots, and I'm going to add that to my lesson. Monday's lesson will be week 3, day 1, lesson 11. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. I'm not sure what this knowledge map is, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Notice on this page there is a print. So if I like what I see on this page, I can go ahead and print that. I'm going to quickly forward through my lesson, and I see on page 4 it is saying that I need to display this. I used this during weeks 1 and 2, and they did give me a hard copy of this. You might want to go ahead and print all of these pages because these are going to be posters that I'm going to be using during Module 1. I'm going to go back to the previous anchor chart. Notice print was not an option. If I go up here and I print from my computer, it does not print the entire page. Certain features of this page will print, but not the entire page. So if I want that printed, if I want a hard copy, for example, I'm going to be out and I want to leave this for a sub, the only option that I have come up with is on my computer, I have a print screen button. I can do that. I have created a PowerPoint, and you will see the posters that were in previous lessons. So we used this on a prior lesson, but I want to show you how I do that. if this was a new slide and I wanted to add it, I just open a blank slide, I paste that in, I crop it, and then I can look over here and see if they give me any design details. They haven't, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And now I see one over here, so I don't even have to resize it. I can just choose this or that, or I could resize it to make it a full slide like I did on this one. I can then print these and laminate them if I need a hard copy version. Okay, so I need that turn and talk video chart, and I'm not seeing that. That's something that's going to be really important because I do use turn and talk in my classroom. I'm going to check under reading and make sure it's not listed here, and I am not seeing it. So I need to go on a hunt for that resource. This is where building these lessons ahead of time, you're really going to get a lot of bang for your buck here because your lesson's going to run very smoothly having all of these right in hand. I'm going to go ahead and search for this because I'm not exactly sure where those anchor charts are. So I'm going to type in here, turn and talk. And here I see it. I'm going to open it just to double check that that's what I want. Love it. So I'm going to hit print screen. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. I'm going to add that blank slide, paste it in, crop it, and then I can rotate it, pick what I want it to look like, and I'm ready to go there, ready to print and laminate. I'm going to come back over here. Since that was what I want to go ahead and add that to my lesson. And since that is such an important skill, I want to work with that anchor chart all week next week. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to all of my lessons for week 3. In fact, I'm going to review that on week 4. So I'm going to go ahead and add that even to week 4. I now have the anchor charts I need for the first 2 pages of my lesson. I'm ready now to go on to pages 3 and 4 where I'm going to actually be reading that story. I'm going to go back to my HMH Resources, back to week 3, lesson 11, and I'm going to scroll down to the reading section. Notice I have my story from last week if I want to review that. I've got my teacher's guide if I want that. Now, one of the things that I really like that HMH did is they put all of our books online. So if I click on this, I don't have to carry my books home if I want to preview the book. It's right here. It's also great for a story like this. This is a book of rhymes and poems. So this is going to be wonderful to display. I can use a pointer. And track print here for my students. We can talk about titles, we can circle rhyming words. So I definitely want the ability to be able to project this book. From using HMH already for 2 weeks, I've noticed a pattern. The book that is introduced on Monday is revisited on day 2 and day 3. But I want to go ahead and include this book all week long. I may want to refer back to some of those poems. I also see in my teacher's edition that I'm going to want this anchor chart about poems. So again, that's one that cannot be printed easily. So I'm going to add that one to my PowerPoint. And this anchor chart really has a lot of great information. So when I go back and add that one, I'm going to be adding that one all week also. Even if it's not in my teacher's edition, I might want it for a reference. We're really going to be hitting rhyming a lot this week and syllables. I also want to glance ahead before I start a module at what the module assessment covers and the module inventory. You can find those on the HMH Resources. They are housed in all resources under assessments. And so I really want to print those out and take a look at those to see there's so many skills covered. What is HMH really saying are the important skills? And they're going to be assessing my students. I want to have a plan so I can make sure I'm hitting those with more emphasis so my students are successful on those module tests. I'm now looking at my next page in my teacher's edition, and I see that I'm going to be teaching a sight word. So I'm going to go back to my Module 3 lesson. I also could just type in, I could do a search for sight words. But I'm going to go ahead and come down here. I believe that's going to be housed under foundational skills. And as I get more proficient and teach more weeks, I'll learn better where all these different items are housed. So here I see my read it, see it, know it, show it. This is just going to be a page out of my students' workbook. So in my classroom I have a document camera, so I have the option, if I have an extra student workbook, I can go ahead and project this, or if I have a Mimeo or I just want to put it on my overhead and not use one of the student consumables, I have that option. So if I want to add that, I can add that to my lesson, and that's going to be our sight word for the whole week. So I have the option I could add it for the whole week, or I could just do that. Jack Hartman and Jan Richardson have created a lot of great YouTube videos for many of the sight words or high frequency words, and I may look at that and see if they've got a great video to go with the word see. Next, I'm going to look at my teacher's edition, and I see that I'm going to be covering the letters Q, R, and S in this lesson. Now, they've added some new materials that I'm not seeing in my teacher's edition. One of those are these Let's Go Letter Show videos. They are very interactive. It calls it an interactive practice, but it's really a video. You have the option. I only have 4 laptops in my classroom, so it's really not feasible for all of my children to get on in one day, especially this early in school. They've got to type in their user IDs and passwords, and we're still learning the numbers. So they're going to have a very hard time typing in a 9-digit username and a 4-digit PIN. So I'm just going to project these. So I'm going to add them to my lesson. But later on in the year, I could actually assign them to my students, and they could do that if I had more technology in my room. For example, on a day if we have a rotational technology cart, maybe one day I would assign a bunch of the lettered videos and they could do them themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and assign these on the day I teach them, and then Friday is a review day, so I want to add them on Friday also. And I'm going to go to each of my letters that I see in my teacher's edition, and I'm going to add them to day 1 and day 5. These are not something you can just play. You do have to, there's times when you're going to have to click. And sometimes I notice with our internet, it will just continue to spiral. And so what I do is go ahead and click off the X and reopen it. And I have had to do that sometimes 2 or 3 times. The internet in my room is a little bit slow. So once you click this, it will play for a while, and then it will pause, and you have to maybe select the capital R or select the capital S, click on a picture that begins with that. And so you do have to pause. What I do is I have some great pointers in my room, and I call on a student to go up there and select the answer, and then I touch it on my laptop. The other video that I love that I'm not seeing in the Teacher's Edition, but I definitely want to include, are the Alphafriends videos. And that was one of the things I said at the beginning of this video. They're not showing up here under my foundational skills, and they're so wonderful. I definitely want my kids to watch those. So I'm going to go to my HMH Resources. I'm going to drop down to All Resources, click on Foundational Skills, and then under Components, I can see all of the foundational components. I want these Alphafriend videos. So here I'm going to have to scroll down and go to the second page. Now I could have done a search, but since I'm doing 3 letters right in a row, I'm just going to go ahead and get to them this way. And then I'm going to add all 3 of these videos. Notice here I don't have the 3 dots. I'm just going to add to my lessons. And like I did the other one, I want to add them to week 3, day 1, and day 5. Day 1, and day 5, and lesson. These are, we got small Alphafriends cards, and then we got large cards, and these are little videos that have the name of that character and a little video, and these, once you play, they just go. They just play the entire video. They're pretty short. They only last a couple minutes, but they get the kids up and moving and dancing, and they're a really fun little brain break for the kids. They really enjoy them. If I want to project the actual student pages, I can do that. I am not going to choose to do that for the letters because I have an extra student book, but you could go down here if you wanted to project those. And you could add them if you wanted to. It's got your letters if you wanted to do that. The other thing that I have not been using, but you may really like, are these daily show and teach slides. And I have not been using them. I may start later. They are a slideshow that you can edit and create, a slideshow specific for your class. They're very much like the PowerPoint, and so if you wanted to use those, that's something that you could explore and see if that's something that you're interested in using. The only thing left in my lesson now to add for that day is writing, so I'm going to go ahead down, and from here I see the different writing charts and teacher's editions. Now, I have to be honest, the first 2 weeks we didn't do a lot of writing. We just weren't getting through the lessons. We're still having to teach basic rules about meeting and being quiet and raising our hands. So I really haven't gotten that far with writing. I'm looking at my teacher's edition, and the lesson is on choosing a topic. And so it's about brainstorming, making a list of things you could write about. I feel like I could go ahead and teach this. It's not a lesson that necessarily builds. So I could go ahead and print this anchor chart, and I could go ahead and teach this. But what I also love about HMH, I can go back to lesson 1 if I need to. And I noticed the writing component really started on day 3 of week 1. So I could open up the preset lesson that they had for day 3, and I could choose those anchor charts. I can go ahead and print out those, and I can drop them into my lesson 11. So I really like that. Let me show you what I mean. So if I go back up here to my HMH Resources, I could click on day 3. some of the other grades, the writing component is separate, but in kindergarten it's embedded. So if I really feel like I have not laid the foundation for my writing, I want to go back and start where the writing instruction really began. I need to introduce this step-by-step writing process. I could add the teacher's guide here, so I'm not having to flip in mine. I could also add the anchor chart about the writing process and my printable opinion and reasoning. The printables for writing, we did not get the hard copy, so if that's something I want my students to do, I'm going to need to print that. I want to go back to writing for week 3 and show you how it's really nice if you're able to preview it. So for the lesson 11, the writer's notebook would be the page that I would print out, and I want to see what their brainstorming page looks like. So I've got 4 boxes where the children could draw 4 different topics they could write about. Now I could go ahead and print this, but I don't want to use my ink and paper on this. I have tons of extra drawing paper and construction paper, so if I'm going to do this lesson, I'm just going to pass out construction paper and either have it folded in half and they can draw 2 topics, or I might go ahead and fold the paper into 4 squares and then they could go ahead and draw something in each square. So I am not going to use this. I also could go ahead and print out all the pages. Notice here is that very first lesson that I showed you, the step-by-step writing process. So maybe I want to go ahead and print this for my students and then use the construction paper to draw the topic. So I could go ahead and combine maybe lesson 3 with lesson 11. And I like that you've got the option that you can always go back to previous lessons. My lesson 11 now should be complete. The only thing that I haven't added is small group. We really haven't started small group. What I have been doing for small group at this point, I've been calling children over that need help with holding a pencil, writing their name. I've got some letter tiles with the letters. So on this day I might have Q, R, and S, capital and lowercase, and I might call children over to match those letter tiles up. I could go ahead and use, there's a tabletop mini lesson for Check for Understanding, and I have that in hard copy, so I could go ahead and have that at my table and point that out. On day 2 and 4, my small group, we're going to be reading our Start Right Reader lesson, and I see that even on lesson 11, even though it's not technically in whole group lesson planning until lesson 12, I could go ahead and start doing some reading with my Start Right readers. I did want to show you one other thing talking about the Start Right readers, and that is that they are printable. So we have 6 hard copies for student use. I'm going to go ahead and type in Start Right Reader LL through PP. This was the last one we did last week. So here is the reader that I can actually project the reader and the students can point to. This is, it looks just like the one that you have 6 copies, 6 student copies. And you can actually project this and the children can point to it just like the book, the hard copy book, or the kindergarten kids that I showed you earlier. The other thing that I found and I really like is you have a printable version. And so when I open this, I can actually print the page. Now, my printer has a great option, and yours may too, where you can actually print 2 pages or 2 sheets per page. So if I do this, do you see how it makes it smaller? So now it's not as many copies. So I did do this for the first 2 weeks. I went ahead and printed these and I sent them home. I like that it's got the practice here where the kids can actually circle, because I don't want them doing that obviously in my hard copies that I have in my classroom. The print is a little bit small, but it's large enough that I feel like the kids can read, and they were really excited to get to take these home and read these to the parents. So this one I printed, and see, it's only 2 pages. You cut them in half, and you fold them in half, and then you bend them again on the dotted lines, and then you slide this page inside of this page and staple on the dotted line. So it's pretty easy. They do have if you need directions on that, you can search directions for printable Start Right readers, and there's directions. But I really like this, and I felt like this was definitely worth the ink and paper. So you may have a lot of take-home older readers from older series that you might want to send home, but I like that these were the ones that we read in class, and then they could take them home because they were so proud that they were able to read a book and so excited to share that with their parents. So this concludes, I'm done with lesson 11 now, and it's taken me about 30 minutes with pausing and explaining things to you. So I feel like I could build my whole week's lesson. If I wasn't talking and I was familiar with it, I really could click and go through and build my lesson in about 30 minutes for the whole week. That would be lessons 11 through 15. And then I would just go ahead and print out, after I got done building all them, I'd go ahead and print out all these slides that I made. I have a little laminator at my house, so I'd go ahead and laminate them. And if there's anything like the student pages that I want to print, or if I stay maybe a week ahead, then I would have time to turn those in for copies at school. I really hope that this video helped you navigate the HMH resources. It is a little overwhelming, and the resources are spread out, but once you learn where they are and you build your lessons, it makes teaching so easy. So on Monday, when I sign in on my computer, I'm going to then go to my HMH Online. I'm going to come down here to my lesson 11 that I built, and I am ready to go. As I teach on Monday, I'll just click on each thing as I need it, and they'll all be open on these little tabs. So if I've read my kindergarten kids book and I want to go back to my anchor chart and remind the kids how to turn and talk, or I want to go to my anchor chart about poems, I've got them all up here in these little tabs that I can still navigate from. And if I can't remember which tab is which, I can just go back here and click on them, and it's very quick and easy. If my internet's a little slow, I can X out and reopen it quickly. I also can get with a buddy teacher and say, hey, I'll build Module 1 lessons and share them with you. Will you build Module 2? So if we kind of divide and conquer, I think that would also save a lot of time. Just a few tips. I hope that they were helpful for you. You're welcome to reach out to me through email if you have any further questions.